I've been meaning to do an update. I just was waiting until I had more information. A lot of people have asked me, they ask me at least once a day, if I had had any resolve with the incident that happened up in Morgan with my son Noah and myself. I just, in a nutshell, my mother-in-law owns a bar and grill up in Morgan, Utah. We were going up there to clean, and as we approached the building, there was a Utah Highway Patrolman parked in the parking lot. And I went to his car, asked if everything was okay, and he wasn't in uniform. He had his son in the passenger seat, and he said, well, I'm just, why? And I said, well, having the cop car in here, it really deters clientele and customers, and I'd rather that you leave the parking lot. It's considered entrapment if you would just, and he got super defensive. And because I really didn't have anything more to say, I said, thank you so much for leaving. And I turned around to walk towards the building because I didn't want to talk anymore. And as I was walking away from the building, he yelled out his window, I'm a Utah taxpayer, I can park where I want. That is not the law. If somebody comes to your property and you ask them to leave, they must leave. And so that's one thing. And as I was going towards the building, Noah, my son Noah, who is black, got out of the car. And the officer was going and looked at Noah and said very defensively, oh, I get it. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. He said it 3 times and then took off. I didn't know his name. I only had a description of what he did. And so I made a complaint and a report to both the Morgan Sheriff's Department and the Utah Highway Patrol. So I really initially had to process what just happened. And, it was the first thing. I mean, we have educated Noah on, obviously he looks at his own skin and sees that he's different than other people, but it's never really been a big issue. He's only 9. So when I got in, I was frazzled and so upset, pissed was my initial, and then I just was and then I noticed Noah and he thought he'd done something wrong. Then I went into the comforting stage saying, oh my gosh, you did nothing wrong. This has nothing to do with anybody's bad judgment. And so I went into basically comforting him in him thinking that his skin had just gone. And it even just furthered my anger. And so in total, I recanted my story 5 times. I told it to the Morgan Sheriff's Department, to the Utah Highway Patrol office. I filled out and then another guy from the Utah Highway Patrolman called to get my statement. And then finally, a Captain Kincaid called to get my statement. When they would ask for my statement, they would say, now, how many times did you say that? And what did you I then became the one in question. So that's that is what happened as far as my experience in me telling the story and trying to explain to them. So after that final time that I told the story, I asked about how long would it take until I knew more information or what my rights were, or what I could do, or what was going to happen. And I think that it's really important to explain what my intention was or making this complaint. First of all, so many levels. He was on a property that he was asked to leave and he didn't want to leave. And 2, what he said to Noah. And the level of professionalism, that he wasn't in uniform, that he had a passenger, but yet he was posing himself as an authority figure in the car. There were so many levels that are wrong, but mainly is the feeling that was left with me as a mom of a black child and what he left with Noah. So he said, I don't know how long it's going to be. It has to be an HR matter, and I'll get back to you in a week. So a week goes by, I don't hear from him, and then I call him. And he's like, his supervisor was out of town, and so it's from HR, we'll get back to you. Another week goes by. I don't hear anything. I call him. He's like, actually, he was the person. So originally I was told that the person that they asked said that he wasn't in the vicinity at the time. And then the next time I talked to him, they said, actually, the person did admit to that happened and that they were there, and we're just going to leave it in the HRs. And so I'm like, okay, but then what does that entail? And he's like, I don't know. I don't really have any information. I'm just basically the relayer of news. And so then I waited 1 more week. I go, well, what was the resolve? Oh, I can't tell you. I go, why? Why can't you tell me? Oh, we just can't tell you that. And I said, well, what was the name of the officer? Oh, we can't tell you that. And I'm like, why can't I have this information? Who can I talk to? Like, that I can get this information. I have to fill out a huge form and then request that information. And they have up to like 21 days or something to even get back to me. And this whole time I'm playing this game. I'm jumping through the hoops. And then I like literally stop. And I'm like, what if this was worse? What if this was someone's child that like got harmed or injured or at the worst murdered? And these are the hoops that you're jumping through to say, listen, I didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. We're the victims here. Why are we being made to be this annoyance and that you're giving me zero answers? And I literally stopped in my tracks and thought, is the reason why I needed to see this so I could be a voice in this? Because I wouldn't have understood it on any level had I not seen it myself. So I'm like, in conclusion of that conversation, I got super emotional. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is the answer that you have for me. And I said, a lady from the NAACP reached out to me. And she had seen the original IGTV that I'd posted on this. And she was so kind. But she delivered some information that was so devastating to me that I literally could not crawl out of my entire week. Like, I'm glad that we went out of town because I couldn't process that information for Noah's future. And unfortunately, after hearing that news, knowing that I probably will never even know, really this person probably got a slap on the hands and no apology will ever be made because this officer did say this to him. So I'm going to take that back. But I'm seeing since the only thing that I asked for was an apology for my son. That's the only thing I asked for, is for that officer to apologize to Noah for saying that. I don't care how he treated me. I wanted the apologies for Noah. And Captain Kincaid said, well, you can honestly understand that probably, I said, because of liability, I'll never get the apology because that put like in jeopardy at admitting fault, and it opens up to a lawsuit is what that does. And he says, well, if somebody apologized, the person can come back and say, well, your apology wasn't that sincere, or judge the apology. I said, so likely that won't happen. And he went silent. And so that's what will happen. When I got off the phone with him on Monday, I was super defeated. I really couldn't wrap my head around it. And what the gal from the NAACP told me was this. Instead of trying to push agendas and all of these things, this is the advice I'm going to give you mother to mother. Prepare your son. When he gets pulled over, the first thing he will need to say, hi, I'm Noah Barker. I would like to exercise my right. I want to call my 2 white parents. That's one thing. When he enters a store that he needs to approach customer service or the security office, and really, he has no intentions to steal or do any harm, that he's only there to purchase an item. These scenarios are real stories. This is what she suggested that I do. So I have had every comment in support, and I've had as many comments in saying, I can't believe that you are not in favor of the police. I never said I was not in favor of the police. I'm not in favor of this situation. And I'm definitely not in favor of having to prepare my son to be basically judged by the color of his skin. I'm not prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that. So before you come at me with comments of saying, not all police are bad. I'm not saying they are bad. But this instance will change him forever. And so one can ruin it for a lot of people. Because people don't want to hear this. This is not, we are America. This is not our people. I don't want to be called that I'm, a micro-antagonist or a microaggressive person. I don't want that I am white fragility. We went to a rally last night, and, you think you're the only one this has ever happened to, and then you hear, 10 young people, all under the age of 14, describe their experiences. And it's pretty damn heartbreaking. So there were a lot of these kids that told their stories, and all of them were pretty impactful. I would say the same thing in everybody's talk is how scared these kids were. They were scared, frightened. And that just is like, oh my gosh, can you imagine being frightened every day that you're going to get in trouble for like stuff you didn't even do, or you just by looking a certain way. And but one stood out to me. This, she said, she wrote a poem, and she said, "I know you want to be my friend, and you say that I'm your friend, but I can't come to your birthday parties." And that is something from a parent down. And I just really, really feel that we could do better. So the last thing I want to say is that I don't think anything will come of this. I know the lesson in this. I know that in teaching my kids, I mean, this is not my first rodeo. This is my 5th kid, that when my kids have effed up, done something mean, as a parent, it's my responsibility to have them apologize. And right now, Utah Highway Patrol, your kid did something bad. Have him apologize. If you want me to sign a waiver that I'm not going to sue you, I won't sue you. But do the right thing. That's all I'm asking, is to do the right thing. And I don't want to discount that there were 2 boys there that day. My son and that Utah Highway Patrolman's son. What is that showing our boys? We can be better. I promise you, we can be.